Jason Palmer, one of the hosts of The Intelligence, The Economist's daily current affairs podcast. The Economist's award-winning shows make sense of what matters, from our special series on China's president to our weekly podcasts on business, technology, and American politics. Our journalists provide fair, in-depth reporting on the events shaping the world. To get the annual plan for less than $2.50 per month, search for Economist Podcasts Plus to start listening today.
Today on CityCast Madison. Did you know that Madison's one of the founders of the Women's Flat Track Derby Association? And make no bones about it, we slay at roller derby. This year, the Madison League's back after a hiatus over the pandemic, and they just hit a major milestone. Emphasis on hit. Their 100th home bout. We caught up with longtime Madison Derby player Emily Mills, aka Hammer Abby, to hear about the current season and what makes our league so special. It's Tuesday, February 6th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Hi, Emily, or should I say Hammer Abby?
Hello, Bianca. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, my goodness. So Madison Roller Derby is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, and y'all just played your 100th home game in January. How's the season so far?
It's been a really wonderful season. It's been so good to be back playing regular games again. You know, we had a long pause for ye old pandemic, and we had a very short season that we did last year, but this is our first full one back, and the games have been excellent so far. Really good, hard-fought games. People having a really good time. Great crowds. The last game last week was the same night as a Packer playoff, and we still had a huge crowd. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, nice. That's huge. Well, so for those who have never been, what is roller derby? Like the general premise and main objective?
Yeah, very good question. We're still not exactly a mainstream sport. So we are a full contact sport played on quad roller skates on a flat track, not the bank tracks that people might be used to seeing from back in the day. And basically the whole point is you score the most points. And teams face off. They usually have 5 people on the track at the same time. One person from each team scores points. The other 4 are basically your blockers who try to prevent the other team's point scorer from doing that, while also trying to help their person score points. And points are scored basically by that main person we call a jammer. Every time they pass the hips of an opposing blocker, they get 1 point. So you're basically trying to lap people on the other team while they're trying to hit you.
Nice. That
about sums it up.
Yes. And I saw that your championship trophy is called Leggy.
Yes, correct.
Which is dope. Yeah. So Madison Roller Derby was one of the first 5 flat track leagues to be formed in the whole world. Why do you think Madison's such a prime spot for derby?
I think, we kind of lucked out just that modern flat track roller derby kicked off in Austin, Texas around 2000. And one of the people who was really instrumental in that, her sister lived here in Madison. That was Crackerjack. And Crackerjack basically was like, well, I'm not going to let y'all have all the fun. We're going to do that here in Madison, too. So she got together with her friend Pandemonium and a few others, and they started recruiting people. So we just kind of lucked out and got in on the ground floor. And for some reason, Madison has just really, for roller derby, we've punched above our weight class for a long time. We've a really big, strong, all-volunteer league and a lot of interest that we've maintained over the years. Other leagues, struggled. It's hard to maintain a volunteer community and sport like this, but I think we just fostered over time, like a really good culture. We've learned from our mistakes and made it a pretty fun, welcoming, inclusive space to be. And I think there's also just some good luck. And Madison as a community has just been really, really supportive through that time. And we're extremely grateful to the community for always showing up for us as well.
When you said Crackerjack, like that is so fun. And the names are like one of the most exciting things, in my opinion, at a distance. So y'all have 4 home teams: Quad Squad, Reservoir Dolls, Unholy Rollers, and Vaudeville Vixens. Some great names.
Yep.
2 travel teams, the Dairyland Dolls and Team Unicorn. Plus I saw a United Officials team, 608 for your officials, including 3 cats. So it seems like y'all get down, like y'all have a good time.
Yep, very much. And there's a spot for everybody. So our officials are incredible. We couldn't play without them. So those are people who love to roller skate but don't want to get hit. I respect. But they got to have real good brains to keep track of all the rules and send us to the penalty box when we don't behave.
So you got to protect the brains. And so you've personally been playing for years. Like, what first got you interested?
Yeah, this is, I think, my 11th year, which is kind of astounding to me that my body has held up through that, but I'm grateful. And I'd always, I was someone who did grow up playing some sports, but I never felt like I really fit into a lot of them. I'm a queer person, queer person, and I've always been, as a tomboy when I was younger, and it never felt super comfortable to kind of bring my whole self to a sport. So when I first stumbled onto roller derby in Madison, I saw all these amazing, diverse body types, gender presentations, sexualities, like the whole 9 yards. And everybody was there to play this like super fun, difficult, challenging, awesome sport, and seemed like they were all there supporting each other through like big changes in people's lives and all kinds of things that would come up. And I was like, yeah, I want a fun competitive sport, but I want to be able to bring my full self. And it's right there in my name. So I'm Hammer Abby, but most people call me Ham. And I am, in fact, a little bit of a ham. I have a theater background. So, a place where I can ham it up a little bit on the track and wear cool outfits and have a fun name. It's the total package.
Yeah, theatrical sounds like that's like a really good word to describe what's going on there. Can you talk about that a little bit more, like some of the pomp and circumstance around it?
Sure. So, back in the day, roller derby went through a period, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was just like all camp, and it was like pro wrestling, which is great, and I love it, and it's its own sport, but it's still like the wins were planned out in advance. There'd be fake fights, all that good stuff. And we had that at the very beginning of flat track when it started in the early 2000s, but we kind of quickly, as a community, were like, we want to make this a real sport. We want to really be competitive, not as a dig to pro wrestling, but like something that was competitive and not pre-planned is what I want to say. So we got rid of all the fake fights, but it's a real sport. You're seeing a real game happen out there. There's a lot of training that goes into it, a lot of time. But we didn't want to lose the like fun kind of punk rock DIY element to it. So, a lot of times people get to choose their own uniforms and, you can add some flair to it. And being able to pick your own name is a really big deal. It's really fun to have this whole other part of yourself that can come out and, puns kind of rule the day or something that's meaningful to you or, whatever it is. And then you get a cool nickname. And it's like, my real name is Emily. There's 1,000 Emilys in the world. But there's very few Hams. So it's nice to have that sort of unique space carved out for yourself. And I really like that balance of like, we take the sport very seriously and the community is very fun. And, the games are very fun. We want it to be a thing that people want to come and hang out and cheer, but also feel like they're kind of part of it. And we're not taking ourselves too seriously is really what it comes down to.
That's awesome. I know that in 2023, the team was trying to raise some funds for a new facility for folks to come and for y'all to practice at. What happened there?
So we are still fundraising, and I'll just put that plug in if people want to go to madisonrollerderby.org and check it out and donate some money or point us in the direction of some big money. That's super helpful. So we had traditionally practiced at Fast Forward Skate Center, but that got demolished earlier last year. I know, RIP. There's no roller skating rink in Madison anymore. It's a travesty. And
it's absurd.
Not just for roller derby. There's a whole community of people who skate in different capacities. So I would really love to see like the city or some other entity step in and create a recreational space that has a roller skating rink. In the meantime, as a league, we're just trying to raise money to find a space for ourselves to either like partner with other people or to rent on our own. Thank goodness the Alliant Energy Center ended up having the arena available to us this year, both for practice and for games. And that's been really, really great. And it's just ultimately the goal is to have a space of our own that we have a little more control over. And it's tricky. The Madison building market, the real estate market is not great. So to put it mildly.
Yeah.
We're always open to, we're continuing to try to fundraise and look for advice from people to try to find a space that might work. And it's a long haul, but we're still committed to trying to figure it out to make Derby sustainable in Madison.
Well, I feel like part of the push for that might be helped by people understanding like how fun it is and how interesting it is. I want to hear about what's the wildest thing you've seen happen during a game? Like, let's
Oh,
get into it.
yeah, I guess, boy, I mean, different eras of the sport. So this is really not what the game is like anymore. But I do remember early in my days of skating, sort of a transitional period in how we approached the game. I remember a skater getting hit off the track and sort of sliding into the audience. And so like we have an area very close to the track that people, if you're 18 and up, you can sit and be pretty close to the action. And you might, it doesn't happen as often anymore, but you might end up with the skater in your lap. And that's what happened in this case. Person got hit off the track, slid into the crowd, grabbed someone's beer, drank it, and then jumped back onto the track and kept going. This is frowned upon. We no longer, this is not good for safety. We don't encourage drinking and skating. It's very much against what we're for now. But that was an early wild moment that I definitely was pretty delighted and horrified by all at once.
This is really interesting. You made that parallel to, WWE or the professional wrestling and all of that sort of thing. And it's interesting to hear that these changes. I'm curious, like, how much has Derby changed in the 11 years since you've been involved?
A lot, and an enormous amount if you've been involved since the beginning, 20 odd years ago. Like I said, there were fake fights and in Madison, there used to be like, if you got a penalty, there was like a dominatrix who spun a penalty wheel. And one of the things was like a spank alley that you'd go down and, like kind of outrageous,
gosh.
like more like R-rated mascots and things like that. So we don't have any of that anymore. It was fun.
Dang
it, place, and all that. But we wanted to make it something that like people of all ages could come and enjoy. And also some of that, we just like really wanted the sport to be front and center. So, yeah, I mean, the way the sport is played has changed a lot. Being on a flat track has sort of allowed us to evolve the sport to be less solely focused on speed and agility. And now there's a lot of tactics and kind of building formations with the blockers, like these really complicated formations, and you can skate backwards and all this other stuff. So like the actual way the game is played has evolved enormously. And I would say the culture, importantly, has also evolved and become more and more inclusive. So flat track roller derby started out by and for women. And I think that's super important and awesome. Like, it's a really crucial history, and it's still a major part of who we are. Madison was one of the first leagues to pass a really inclusive policy in terms of membership, where it's basically anybody who feels comfortable in a quote unquote women's sport is welcome here. Basically anybody except for a cisgender man. And the cisgender men have a place too. They can be referees and announcers and non-skating officials. And there is an all gender league in town called Wisconsin United, and they take everybody. But we wanted to, within Madison Roller Derby, we changed our name from Mad Rollin' Dolls because we just wanted to have this more inclusive, to folks like me who are kind of non-binary, genderqueer, and to all of our trans skaters who are absolutely fundamental, amazing, crucial parts of the league. So that's been a journey. A lot of people, trying to get educated and learn from past mistakes and just really make it a more welcoming, inclusive, accepting space. And a lot of like really cool, radical things have happened. It's still a long way to go for plenty of us and more to do. But I feel like we've been kind of at the cutting edge in terms of sports when it comes to that sort of thing and trying to set a better example. So I'm really grateful for that and to have been part of that over the years that I've been here.
That's huge. I also saw you all were trying to do like cost cutting to make it even more inclusive for folks.
Right. Yeah. So people want to come and try skating even before any hitting or contact. We have an intro period now, a 30-day free trial. We provide all the gear so you don't have to buy anything because, sports that have a lot of gear, like we have the roller skates and we have all the protective pads that we have to wear, it adds up, and that's not approachable for a lot of people. So we try to make a thing where you can come and try this for free. You can use all the equipment. And if you want to join the league after that, we have some scholarships in place. We have a sliding scale fee for being part of whatever you can afford, basically. And that's been going really, really well. And I think, we're hoping to continue that and make that sustainable so that more people can come and be part of this.
There's a big difference between talking and reporting, especially right now with a fire hose worth of news coming your way. You know what helps? Having reporters in the field. I'm Brad Milkey from ABC News, and that's what we've got on ABC's daily podcast, Start Here. Every morning, Start Here takes you across the country and around the world for a quick, smart look at the stories that matter. It's fast, it's straightforward, and sometimes, gasp, news can even be fun. So let's meet up tomorrow morning. Listen to Start Here wherever you get your podcasts.
Shipping can make or break a sale, so optimize how you ship your orders with ShipStation. They make it easy to automate and manage orders no matter how big your business grows. And they might even be able to help reduce shipping and warehouse costs. So optimize and keep up your momentum for growth with ShipStation. Sign up for your free 60-day trial now at ShipStation.com and use the code POD. That's ShipStation.com with the code POD.
I wanted to ask about, more people. I see you have 4 teams.
Yep.
Are the rivalries real? Like the fights? Like how real are the rivalries?
I would say we are competitive within the league with each other, but it used to be a lot more sort of kind of siloed off. Like if you were on a home team, like you were that home team and you were fighting the other home teams for wins and trying to win the championship. And we've really tried to change that culture over the years to be much more like league first, so that we all practice together and we are friends with, like everybody across the league. Because, we also play on the all-star team, like the Dairyland Dolls and Team Unicorn, and we got to work together in lots of different capacities. I think it makes us more competitive when we go out and travel, that we all have more chances to play together across these home teams. It's not to say that we're still not trying to beat each other on home game day. Like you're on whatever team you're on, you're trying to win.
Yeah.
And it's very competitive. But I'd say like the quote unquote rivalries have kind of gone away.
Okay.
And I like that. I really like that, because it's just like we're out there, we're competitive, but these are my friends that I'm playing against. And I get to hit my friends in this fun, constructive way where they give me a high five for a really good hit and vice versa. And I think that's beautiful.
I love it. It's beautiful. And if a really good hit, I want to know, does Hammer Abby have like a signature move or position they play?
So I spent most of my career as a jammer. So that's the person who scores points. So you're the target for everybody. You're the one who's trying to get around the track fast and score points. And I have since transitioned. I am now a blocker primarily. It was just a new phase of my life. But I still have a lot of jammer moves that I use when I'm blocking. And I still sometimes end up jamming as just a part of the game. There's a thing called a star pass where you can turn a blocker into a jammer. And my go-to move is still what we call an apex jump. I'm a jumper. I like to get some air. So yeah, ham jumping is a pretty common sight in our league. And that's definitely my go-to move, and the thing I've been trying to like pass along as a legacy and get more people to like take to the air when they need to. It's great fun.
That sounds fun. And also, I feel like one of the maybe exciting things about it is that, that it's full contact sport, right? And then also there's the very real possibility of injuries. What do you say to someone, who's curious at trying their hand and feet at roller derby? Like when they're like, what about the injuries? Like how y'all handle that?
Yeah, it's a super real consideration. And I would never pressure someone who didn't feel like at all comfortable to try it. But it's any contact sport. We're no more or less dangerous than, football or hockey or any of the others. Like we have a lot of padding, you wear a mouth guard, all that's required. There's a lot of rules in roller derby that prevent really egregious injuries. Like you're not allowed to hit people's heads or spines or below the knee, things like that. You can't kick and trip. You can't clothesline people with your arms, things like that. You will get in big trouble. So all that stuff helps, but you're still playing a fast moving game with roller skates and you're trying to hit each other. So stuff does happen. I think most commonly it's bruises and scrapes, but there are the occasional broken bones. And I've been extremely fortunate to mostly avoid that in my years. We do a lot for cross training and trying to help people understand how to keep their bodies healthy in a way that's very, inclusive, wherever you're at, whatever kind of body you have, every body has a place on the track. And roller skates are kind of the great equalizer too, which is really fun to see. People who think I'm really clumsy or I don't have a sports background. I've seen people who say that when they come in, turn into some of the most amazing athletes. So yeah, I'd say people surprise themselves. It can be a little scary, but I think one of the really cool things is learning that you can fall and then get back up and be okay. And you get kind of used to that. And it's very kind of empowering to be less scared of it as you go along. So yeah, I don't know, I get hit, I fall down, I get back up. Great life lesson.
Yeah. So, and it sounds like you've been pretty successful in terms of staying safe from the injuries. Do you have any tips for people?
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I was I always feel bad talking about this. I'm just going to jinx myself. I've had some injuries over the years, but yeah, like I said, I feel like I've been pretty fortunate. And a big part of it is I was fortunate to come into the sport with some awareness of cross training is really the big one. So doing any kind of other activity that's sort of complementary to what we're doing in roller derby, because derby, like you get some pretty amazing quads and good butt muscles out of it, but you got to train the other parts of your body to like really get that whole thing. And, that looks different for different people. Like I love going to the gym and doing weightlifting. I love riding my bike. But lots of people do all kinds of different things that work for them. And I think that plus learning how, like, this is a really sensitive subject and I try to be really mindful about it, but like how you eat is really important. And for us, like playing this like high active sport, it's teaching people to eat more calories than they've ever really thought they should or have been taught to. Like, no, you need to fuel that body. And whatever that looks like, whatever's good for you, like, I'm not going to even tell you like, oh, you got to count your macros or blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, like just eat good food.
You need energy. More
of it that maybe you have in the past, because, I think people come in and they struggle initially just being like, just not having enough fuel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a big mental shift, and like really embracing like whatever your body is and whatever it needs, do that.
Give it. Yeah. So, one thing about Madison's league that sets it apart from other sports and maybe other derby leagues around the country is that you're a nonprofit since 2016. What does that mean for the team, and why was that step important?
Yeah, so a big part of our league since the beginning was this commitment to being part of the community and doing, community outreach and volunteering for other nonprofits and other community groups, and, just being out there and helping out and trying to be good citizens, basically, in various ways. So it just made sense, for that purpose. And then a big part of our mission is frankly educational, and it's like using sports as an education, as a community building tool.
I saw that you guys teach physics through roller derby. Yeah. I was like so stoked to see that.
Yeah, one of our skaters, Antimatter, is a physics teacher, so she has created a curriculum where she pulls in some roller derby skaters and demonstrates physics through the sport, which is super fun. It takes all forms, but it's like external education to the community, and it's also like within the league to run this all volunteer and now nonprofit. Like nonprofit helps us bring in donations and things like that, which is really important. But yeah, like to run this volunteer league, we need people to volunteer. So everybody's learning how to do things from the ground up, like whether you've got experience when you come in or not. I've been a PR manager, I've been the general manager, I've been in training and designing training curriculum. People do art, they do admin work, they do like organizing the bouts is a whole thing. Our big events, it's a huge, so many moving parts to like put on these huge, enormous events, and all like doing tickets and wrangling photographers. So like there's so much work that gets done, and we really try to make it a place where people have the opportunity to come in and try something that maybe they would never have the opportunity to do anywhere else, and get support and like education and training in some form to do that. And so yeah.
It sounds super grassroots and punk and queer.
Yes, all of that. Extremely that. So yeah, it makes more sense to be a nonprofit than a business.
Not to like, I hope that wasn't me, what is it called, diminishing it in any way by labeling it, but I feel like those are such a good broad categories.
Yeah. No, this is a good summary. It's true.
You know what? I'm sure folks are super stoked to come to the bouts if they haven't gone already. Are there any big events for Madison Roller Derby coming up?
There are. So we actually have a few more home season games, and we also have a big tournament that we host every spring called Utter Chaos. And I have to emphasize that is a pun. It's UDDER chaos, Utter Chaos. So nice. our dairy and cow puns here. So yeah, Utter Chaos is an awesome big tournament. It's April 26th to 28th. That's going to be multiple teams coming in from other cities to come and play in kind of a tournament format. It's a great time. That's hosted at the Hartmeyer Ice Arena on Commercial Avenue. But prior to that, we've got more games. So we've got February 17th, March 16th, and April 6th are the next 3 home games that'll be hosted at the arena, at the Alliant Energy Center. And that'll be home teams playing against each other. And then we also have a couple of games where our travel teams are going to be playing visiting teams. And I believe we actually have a game where I mentioned them before, Wisconsin United Roller Derby, which is our fledgling all gender team here in town that are great. I think we're going to have them playing a game in one of those as well. So just a kind of awesome array of matchups that are going to be going on. And if you can't remember all those dates, I'm just going to plug it again, madisonrollerderby.org, and all of our social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of it.
Nice.
Follow us there and you can get all of the information about those upcoming events.
Yes, and we'll be sure to link that in our show notes.
Thank you.
And can folks just like try and join at any point, or is there like a time of the year?
I know we have different intake times, and there's a few of them. There's multiple every year. And so if you reach out, I think it's, I should double check this, recruiting at madisonrollerderby.org, but you can find that information on the website. I want to get involved. You drop them a line, they'll add you to the list. They'll send you information about those intake periods. And then you can come and try that 30-day free trial, or if you're interested in volunteering not on skates, you can also drop us a line about that.
Awesome. So before we let you go, Hammer Abby, can you help me pick my derby name?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I think about something that you love that's maybe not super topical, because, you know, if something is like a fad in the moment and then you don't like the name like a year later because no one knows what it means.
Okay. Ramen. So my first thought was ramen. So, and then I'm thinking spicy.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm thinking slippery.
Slippery noodle.
Slippery noodle. Okay. I love that. I like, in my pseudo understanding of roller derby thought of thigh scraper.
Oh, that's good.
Because I'm like six feet tall. Have you heard that one before?
I have not encountered another thigh scraper in derby. It's possible there is one, but
okay.
In my time, I haven't found one. So I think that's great. I think that is a perfect example of a pun, and it's about you, and it's like kind of intimidating, but kind of fun at the same time. Perfect.
Yes. Okay, I'm stoked. I actually do really want to join, and so does our newsletter editor, Haley Sperling. So, and we appreciate you so much coming on and telling us what's up with Madison Roller Derby.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
That's Emily Mills, Madison Roller Derby competitor who plays under the name Hammer Abby. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with the person in your life with the fanciest footwork? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then,